So I think the biggest campaign I'll be organising next year, although I'll have quite a few big ones, will be my Shag Week, which I want to do differently to what it's been done in the past. The LGBT community has this really great thing about sexual empowerment that's kind of coming in from like kind of the gender equality community as well, where they're looking at a positive way of having sex, and also about talking about sex and making sex a less of a taboo thing and more of a positive thing to talk about. And it's also a way of boosting sexual health. And I'll be focusing time on this campaign because I don't think it's been done before, and also it's something that students won't know about. So the fact that it's not talked about in schools, like students coming into college will never have heard about this before.
I guess the biggest campaign I'd be organising would probably be around mental health, because I think it's a huge issue. It does affect 1 in 3 students during their time here in college. I would link that in again with some ideas I have in my manifesto, which would be the online counselling service. So I'd use that to kind of promote positive mental health in college. And again, the reason I've been focusing time on it, there's been tragedies in college, and it's thoroughly preventable. So I think that since it is 1 in 3 students affected by this, that it's an important issue that definitely requires my time. So
I think I'd like to focus on visibility most next year. I think drop-in centres, a reform of the online system are all necessary, and once students are aware of the services that are available to them through the SU, we can start building on everything else. So I think visibility is the most important right now.
One of my biggest campaigns will be the Please Talk Ambassador programme. So the idea behind this is that all class reps, peer mentors, select UCD staff and UCD student leaders such as chairs and society auditors will be trained in active listening and how to support a student who comes up to them. The reason I'd like to implement this is because, like, as a welfare officer, we are the link between the students and any services they require. There's so many people who are at a high visibility here on campus, and it's really important for a student to know I can approach this person and they'll be able to help me find support that I need. And this will lead me to be able to create one of the safest campuses in Ireland for the students.
Well, the Campaigns Forum was put in place for that very reason, and so the Campaigns Forum is in place so that they can tackle most of the big campaigns, although assisted by the welfare officer, and I think that they're a really important part of trying to balance time. I also think that having times for that you have an open clinic is really important too. I think actually having scheduled times is how I would do that, although always being free for an emergency case if needs be.
yeah, I kind of have 2 ways that I'd combat that, because I realise as well, for officer, you are quite time poor because the committees that you sit on and the students that you deal with. So in my manifesto I've laid out 2 ideas that I think would tackle this. Number 1 would be the online scheduling system. So this would be that you could go on and you could see when I was free. You'd work with conveners who would be 2-hour clinics in each of their buildings every week. You'd work with them to schedule it. Another way, I think that we could tackle the being time poor issue is by reform of the welfare crew, which is what's on my manifesto. In Trinity, the way the welfare crew functions is that they actually help run the campaigns. So I think that'd be particularly useful, along with obviously the campaigns forum, which I sit on this year. I think that'd be a way to kind of get around the fact that I wouldn't be have as much time as potentially other officers. So I think then I'm available for students when they need it.
I'm aware that most of the time as a welfare officer will be spent dealing with personal cases, so it's of the utmost importance to prepare in depth each campaign during the summer when you have most free time. I would also like to encourage the ordinary student of UCD to come up with their own campaign ideas and delegate responsibility to them to develop these campaigns so that they can run them on their own with the assistance of the welfare officer.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question to ask, because I think it's one that's on a lot of students' minds. If anyone was to take a look through my manifesto this year, I've got several ways to help assist me with running campaigns and dealing with the personal cases that any student may come to. The Please Talk Ambassador programme, as I discussed earlier, so that's creating more students more people that students can approach to lead them on to a better support system. There's the Make It Happen campaign. So this is a way of facilitating students to help run their own campaign, because more often than not the student affected by the issue can see the solution. So the idea is with this that I can assist them and guide them in how to run a campaign, give them the support through social media, and also give them the funding. But at the end of the day, it will be student led and union funded. And like I said, campaigns are vital. They're really important And every single one of the campaigns on my manifesto link back to the students yet again, seeing who the welfare officer is, seeing who the other supports are. Like even the UCD Mind, Body and Soul Festival, it's a really fun idea. It gets people to engage in music, creative arts, sports, exercise and healthy food, but it's a way of students coming over to this festival and meeting all the other supports in an informal manner, so they're not afraid of going up to the supports themselves.
I would foresee you looking at businesses that benefit from students. So businesses where students are their main target and where they're looking to get more students involved anyway, and looking to see if they will donate money to the welfare fund in exchange for advertising and endorsement.
Yeah, as someone who's, like, I've applied through the welfare fund myself, and it is quite difficult and it can be quite scary for students who are looking to get or financial assistance that they desperately need. So kind of two ways I'd look at reforming it is there's a report called the Burn Report, and it suggests implementing an online system so that you could apply through SIS for the services at the minute, which you can't actually. I would also then, the same as Sam, I do actually have a manifesto. I've already started looking for private corporate sponsorship, because there's only so much money that the union can donate to welfare because we don't make money, but it is so important that I think it is worth my time if I was elected during the summer. And through my experience with LawSoc in gaining sponsorship for Big Society, I think it's, I've seen how our auditor went about it, so I think I've gained experience in that way to kind of work with companies, see how they get sponsorship, but as well to make it easier for your average student who is looking for that funding, to make it online, I think would take a lot of the pressure off them.
I do believe the money exists in the welfare fund currently to satisfy the needs of students, but what I'd like to do is introduce a new emergency fund that would shorten the process of applying for a sum of money, a small sum of money, perhaps less than €100, that will get the student through the week, and perhaps we'll be able to find a way that the student can pay back this money if it is within their means. I'd rather focus my time applying for corporate sponsorship. I'd rather apply that money to campaigns, as I do believe the money already exists in the welfare fund to satisfy the needs of students.
Again, that's a really good question, and sometimes a lot of people don't know where the funding comes from for the welfare fund. So it is attained through various different sources at the minute. So one of them actually is the European Union itself. There's an awful lot of European initiatives that do support funding for these kind of support services that are available to students within their university. I definitely agree with the others in that corporate sponsorship is vital. I've got corporate sponsorship myself for several campaigns I ran previous to even beginning university myself. Just like Rebek'ah, as you can see in my manifesto, I've introduced an online booking system, because that first step can be very scary for students to begin to apply for the welfare fund. And as well, as you can see in my manifesto, there's the fee abatement programme. So this will run alongside the welfare fund, because a lot of people aren't aware, but the welfare fund cannot be applied to pay for resit fees. But there's an awful lot of students who are facing a resit fee, and it's putting them under increased financial pressure as well as the current academic pressure that they are under. So this will work alongside the welfare fund to help assist any student in financial difficulty.
I don't really think so, because I think that companies, it's a PR game. Companies like to look good, and if we can benefit from that, then I think we should. UCD, we have such a diverse 25,000 big population, and I think that as other people have mentioned, there is huge potential here for sponsorship, and we have a lot to offer as well as a lot to gain from corporate sponsorship. And I obviously think that you'd have to look at it, we wouldn't work with companies that say their ethics of that company or the ethos of that company wouldn't work alongside UCD welfare. So we'd look to work with companies who embody what UCD welfare kind of stands for, and what UCD Students' Union as a whole indeed stands for.
Like Rebek'ah said, I really agree with that notion that obviously we'd go with companies with positive ethics, but as well, from previous experience, I worked alongside O2 and Telefonica, and they provided me with corporate sponsorship under their corporate social responsibility code. So for a lot of big companies, they're really interested in being seen to support students and being seen to support mental health and welfare and equality within specifically big niches, but to provide students with the opportunity to make this happen themselves, just like if I was elected, I'd be doing with the Make It Happen campaigns. So I don't think there's a conflict of interest. Like Rebek'ah said, there's a huge amount that companies can gain from doing this, but at the end of the day, their aim is they won't enter any corporate social responsibility deal with us if they don't believe that we can follow this through ourselves.
I think welfare this year has been really visible, and I think that was really good. I think Cian has been around campus, and as far as being active and different and kind of quirky, I think he's done really well in that. But I think that the campaign side of it suffered. I think that welfare campaigns this year haven't been as strong in the fact that they were only one day long. So I think for me that would be kind of where welfare did fall down this year, and I'd definitely be looking at making welfare based campaigns, not just equality campaigns, really strong.
I would actually kind of disagree with Sam in that I don't think that welfare, and I suppose the Students' Union in general, has been as visible this year, though I would agree that campaigns haven't been that strong, and I don't necessarily think that that is at the fault of just one particular officer. This has been the first year that we've been without a campaigns officer, and as someone who sat on the campaigns forum, because we had been given all this new responsibility but without the backup of a campaigns officer, I think it put a lot of strain on Cian and a lot of strain on us as well, because we kind of we didn't really have the resources I think that we needed. So something that I'd look to introduce next year is part-time officer training for the campaigns forum, because I know that I really would have benefited from this year. What I think Cian has been particularly strong at is personal cases. Having gone to him myself as not even as a student union colleague, as a regular student looking for help, I found him absolutely fantastic, and definitely one of the reasons that I wanted to run is seeing the positive impact that welfare can have on a person's life. So yeah, that's the reason I'm running, and that's a lot of what I've taken from Cian. So yeah, in terms of where I think the union could kind of improve next year would be down to kind of localising it and making it more visible, because I think that it has fallen down on it this year. The ways that I would particularly think that could be done is I would mandate, I'd put motions through Union Council to mandate all of the conveners to hold 2-hour clinics every week in their respective buildings. A lot of problems people have with the union, and particular welfare, is, and because it is the one that is now in charge of campaigns, is that they don't know who represents them, or exactly what we do, or why we're worth the money that we're paid. So, and I think that is important, because people are more likely to engage, and we need to combat the student apathy that exists in UCD at the minute. So if we localise everything and we make people know who's working for them, what they're doing, and why they're representing them, I think that would improve the problems that have existed this year.
I think what has worked this year is the delegation Cian has done with coordinators at the student union. As Rebek'ah said earlier, welfare is time poor, so it's of the utmost importance that we do let coordinators run their own campaigns or come up with ideas for campaigns. What I don't think worked so well this year, like Rebek'ah said, was visibility. Through asking many students, very few know who's representing them on the union. I think that's something that can be improved upon a lot. I think Cian's made a good start this year, but it can be improved upon a lot next year through drop-in clinics, tabs on the SU tabs on UCD Connect, and various other campaigns to get students more actively involved in the union and show them that the union is working for them.
Yeah, just like Rebek'ah said earlier, I have heard an awful lot about Cian's work on personal cases. I have many students come up to me singing his praise left, right and centre, but I think a little bit more visibility is necessary. And there is obviously that, like we discussed earlier, the time conflict that you do have working as a welfare officer, but this is why the campaigns are there, and this is why I've designed my campaigns specifically to attract the students who may be suffering from student apathy, to engage students with the union who would normally not have engaged in the union previous to this. So that's why there's several different campaigns that will attract students from different backgrounds with different interests. There's also the bi-monthly outreach clinic, so that I will travel from faculty to faculty, so that students out in further buildings don't get ignored, so they don't miss out on getting to know their welfare officer, getting to know the other supports available to them. And I think that's really important. But I would not like to disregard the work that Cian has done on the personal cases. So I believe that I'd be the best candidate for your welfare and equality officer, because I have the drive, the compassion and the commitment for the students here in UCD. I have the experience to show that I will follow through every campaign that I commit to. I have the experience in getting to know how to run a campaign. I also believe that my manifesto has some fantastic ideas that will engage students that haven't previously engaged with the union, such as the UCD Mind, Body and Soul Village, the world record attempt to break the most STI tests done in 24 hours. And I also think that I can be the person that students will approach and will come to with a problem, no matter how big or small, so that I can act as a peer support for them here within UCD and to connect them with the right supports that they need. So I'd really appreciate it if people would like to come out and vote DeSay #1 on the 2nd and 3rd of April.
I believe I have all the right personal characteristics to be a welfare officer. I can be compassionate, empathetic. I have the experience of needing funding. I've experienced suffering from mental health issues. I know what students need. I have the drive to help them through these issues. As an external candidate, I know the apathy students can suffer from, apathy students have towards the student union, and I really want to change that. I want students to be engaged with the union once again, and I think I have all the characteristics necessary to change what the student union stands for.
The reason I think I'd be the best or the ideal candidate for welfare and equality, I suppose, is down to a couple of reasons. I mean, I think I have the experience. I have been around 4 years, which is unfortunately makes me 2 years older than the other guys here. And I think that extra 2 years is crucial because I have seen how the 4 welfare officers that I've worked with and gone to for support have worked, kind of seen where the problems are, and I think I'm the best placed person to fix them. Having sat as gender equality coordinator this year, obviously equality is something I'm incredibly passionate about, and how I spend my time outside of college as well is indicative of that. One of the reasons I'm running is I've seen how difficult it can be to, you know, actually acknowledge and say, yeah, I need help. It was difficult for me personally, and I know it's difficult for students, and I'm the listener in my friends group, so I don't see why I can't really extend that to a campus of 25,000 students. I'm very compassionate, I'm also very passionate, and I do have a strong personality, which I think is important in dealing with university staff that we sit on boards with, because, you know, we are in tough times and people do want to make cuts, and I think that I have a personality that means that those cuts won't be made, or I can alleviate the stress where there is stress. I'd really appreciate giving my #1 vote. My manifesto has some ideas that, you know, given the time I've been around, I think could really improve students' lives. So McKinney-Perry #1 for welfare and equality. Thanks a million, guys.
I think I have a unique skill set for the welfare and equality officer. I'm really energetic and passionate about equality and welfare issues, and I've worked in 2 positions this year, one of which was welfare officer for the LGBT society, and the other one was LGBT coordinator for the union, which was an equality position. So I've worked with both welfare and equality this year, working on personal cases and on campaigns, and I think I do have the experience necessary to run campaigns and also deal with personal cases next year. I want to change the way the union does campaigns and make them more fun and visible for students, and I think I can definitely achieve this because I have run campaigns in this way in the past. So vote Sam Blanckensee #1, please give me your #1 vote.